So today's lesson is not just going to be a review. We are going to learn something brand new. But before we learn the brand new content, I wanted to go over the quadratic formula. We use the quadratic formula when you have something in standard form that you're trying to factor, but you're unable to factor it. And so this is sort of like a last resort. I recommend not using this for every question. You should always try to factor the traditional way first because it's so much more efficient. But when something can't be factored, use a quadratic formula. The formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac, which is under the square root sign, over 2a. How many of you have seen this before? My gosh, please let it be almost everyone. Okay, great, perfect. So this really is going to be review. Like I said last class, you can't use a calculator for today's quiz, but you can use a calculator for the lesson today because you will need it. We have question number 1, which is solve x squared minus 3x. We'll move the negative one to the other side to make it a trinomial, and formula. Yeah.
You know how it gives us 2 zeros, right?
Yeah.
So can we, in essence, use this to find the axis? Plug that in. Like if it's
Yes.
weird, something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so I moved the negative one over to the other side. It's positive 1. I recognize that my a value is the value in front of the x squared, so it would be a 1. My b value is the value in front of the x, so it'll be a negative 3. And the c value is the constant, and it would be a 1. It's not necessary for all 3 of these numbers to be there. Sometimes you're going to find that maybe you don't have a b value or a c value, and that's fine. You can still use the quadratic formula. I also want to mention that sometimes I'll give you a question that is rearranged, like the x squared is not first, so make sure you always put it in the right order. All right, we start off by writing the formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And really, if you did this in grade 10, it's just a matter of subbing in the numbers. However, it says express answers as exact and approximate roots. So I want to show you what that looks like. So negative b is going to be negative 3 plus or minus b squared is going to be negative 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 all over 2 times 1. Everyone see where I got the numbers? Okay, negative 3 is 3 plus or minus. I'm going to solve what's inside the square root sign. So what you could do is, if you wanted, you could use your calculator, or you could just use mental math. Negative 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 4 is just a 5, all over 2. Now, if you're wondering what is the purpose of the plus and the minus, what happens from this step is your question can be split into 2 different parts. So you can have one part that is your positive value, and you can have another part that is your negative value. So I like to split it up and write it as 3 plus root 5 over 2, and x is equal to 3 minus root 5 over 2. The answers I've written right now are the exact values. And the reason why these are called exact values is because we don't have any decimals. There's no rounding. We're not, shortening any of the numbers. This is going to give you the most precise answer. So if I ask you for exact values, it means I want your solution to look like this with the square root sign. So use your calculator now, and you're going to go ahead and solve this. So in your calculator, you're going to go 3 plus square root 5. My calculator works in a way where I have to press an equal sign, and then I divide by 2. You might be different. But 3 plus square root 5, equal sign, divided by 2. And then see if you get the same answers as me. I think we'll just keep it to 2 decimal places. What should it be? 2.6 what? 2? So I got 2.62, 0.38. I'll just pause here while you guys work your calculator. All right, you guys. So for question number 2, it is already in standard form, so we don't really have to move anything around. My A value is going to be a 1, my B value is going to be -2, and my C value is going to be 3. My equation is x is equal to -b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. By the way, I recognize that sometimes you may have fancy calculators, so to get full marks, you have to make sure you're showing all your work, like all the numbers being plugged in, etc.
Oh, so you also want to reduce with the time.
Yes. Because if you don't show me that work, then I won't know how you got the numbers you got. So I want to see all the numbers being plugged in. So 2 plus or minus, and we're going to get 4 minus 12. Oh, sorry. So did you guys get something odd when you were solving this? You didn't? Okay, you should have gotten something odd. Did anyone get a negative number inside their square root? Okay, if you were to put a negative number with your calculator, what would you find? It's an error. So therefore, the answer to this is there are no real roots. And what exactly does this mean? It means that if you were to graph it, it would actually be one of those floating parabolas. It might look like this or like this. It just means there's no place where this parabola goes to the x-axis, and so therefore there are no x values. I don't have many practice questions for this, but if you did want some, you can just go back to handout A and then try some of those. Stop.